also spin, and the two motions are coupled together. Suppose we give it a little kick so it begins to.
What's going on, everyone? Good morning. I found myself posting like crazy this morning, and I think it's because I was already thinking about how life is. That's like an everyday thing. You know what I mean? Because that's what we're like born to do. That's like your duty as a thinker, which is what you are as a human being. But then I remembered that Roy's first day on our own at pre-K. So that like made me look at things a little differently. That gave a little more urgency to my thoughts, even though they were already urgent. I wanted to discuss why there's what's going on. If no one else notices, the world's going crazy. It's not even going crazy. The world is it's maturing. And I don't mean maturing like mentally. I mean biologically. It is maturing. It is coming to its end. Life as we know it is coming to its end. And I can say that with a surety because I remember my mom, and maybe it's the Bible that says this, day turns to night. What was it? Summer will turn to winter, and winter will turn to summer. And just in case no one is noticing, winter's turning to summer. You know what I mean? And another thing that's weird is the fact that I've been able to put together that life is at an intrinsic level, that life does have meaning. Remember, and I can demonstrate this simply by saying how come life is actually life is fundamentally works as a mathematical logic through being probabilistic, which, as I just stated in a post, when you combine determinism and existentialism together, that's what you get. You get a probabilistic world, which is what life is, which is what time is. Time is possibilities, and that is time is possibilities and outcomes, and in between those, conditions have to be met. Conditions, whether they are met or not, are where you get probability from. So the result becomes anything that is actualized is meant to happen, and it is rendered as a statistic at a fundamental and intrinsic level. Like life is definitely based on math. Remember, we all have expectations. Why would you have expectations? You have to combine factors together in order to those expectations that we have. Another thing is that also indicates that life, not just indicates that life is math, because indicates you think that this is some kind of joke or it's a maybe probable thing. No, this is a reality, actualized, no doubt about it thing. And that is the fact that we can set up future events. Right? Can you not? You can set up how things turn out. Is that no one notices that that's like a very strange ability that we have? That's our superpower. Our ability to think. Our minds are there's like different type of tools that we've been given in this game. And I'll give you two versions of those tools. Remember, life's opposites, parallels, and what do I want to say? Contradictions. So you always have a pair of something, such as life being deterministic and existentialist, also existentialist, or existential, excuse me. And in this case, you have where a duality exists between both on a biological level and at a intrinsic, another level, more objective. There's two types of objective levels. There's one that's biological, where you can give a reason for things at a biological level. You know what I mean? Like our fifth toe, our pinky toe is to help us balance. Our pinky on our hand is to help us grip things. Things like that. Your hair is to help you stay warm. It was our first. It was a form of fur. It is a form of fur. But also at an intrinsic level, when you see things objectively, you see things as why are they there? Why are they a part of life? And then that's when you notice that everything's a component of. That's the reason why. Remember, an explanation to explain everything has to incorporate. It can't just be from a religious perspective or from a scientific perspective or from a philosophical perspective. It's a combination of all three, because that's what life is. Life is not applications. Life is all one thing. Everything in life is just components of a macrocosm. Is this not the case? So when we take into account signals, vibrations, signs, frequencies, waves, all these things are what exist all around us. Light waves, sound waves, ripples, all these things are all happening all around us. And then you take into account, then you add the fact that we have senses that to detect these signals and frequencies and vibrations, etc. Does this not indicate at an intrinsic level that life is a communication between nature and life forms? And then to furthermore demonstrate that we are the focal point of this game, you have to take into the account the fact that out of all the creatures, first off, only creatures on Earth are the living things that we know of in the universe. Only the creatures on Earth are the only living things we know of in the universe. That's the first fact. Second fact is, of all those creatures we know of on Earth, we are the only ones that have the minds to develop technologies that not only give an extended, embellished expression of our thoughts, but we can also reason and calculate and delve deeper into thought. The creature has that, and if they do, they don't have the bodies, such as our hands, body parts, components such as our hands, mechanisms, which these are tools as well, intrinsically, fundamentally, to help us create the things that we do as human beings. That's how you have to start looking at things. You have to start looking at things as why is there everything? Why do I have hands? Why do we have hands? How come we have hands? And that's to see that it's not only at a biological level, but that there does exist an intrinsic level that things are happening at. And then that brings you to the why. A lot of people made fun of my video when I said that why is the universe has a purpose? Why that the universe has to have a purpose? Because if there's no forms in the universe, let's imagine that there's no life forms in the universe, because that's how this game is intended to be solved, is through theory and imagination or hypothetical. That's why when people I don't deal in hypotheticals, it's like, how do you think that? But let's imagine for a moment that the universe has no life in it. Then it would just simply be a mechanism without purpose. It would just be there. It would be as if it doesn't exist. Is that not the case? If the universe exists, but there's no life within it, and nothing is aware of it, does it exist? Do you see what I'm saying? It would be as if it doesn't exist. Yes, physically it would exist, but it would have no existence to anything, so it might as well not exist. That's what gives things meaning, is the fact that It is relevant to something. That's why people go crazy in solitary confinement or feel loneliness, because you have to have a feeling of relevance. That's why everything in the universe affects each other. That demonstrates how everything in the universe affects each other. Because you feel disconnected when you're ill, bravely ill, or when you're in isolation. Now, with that said, it is in isolation and removing myself from the immersion of society how I was able to rationalize, and realize what's really going on in life. That life is beyond the religions and beyond science, that everyone's part right and part wrong. So you just remove all the part wrong parts and combine all the part rights, and let's see what we come to. How I was able to figure out that the universe is actually more than a simulation or more than a hologram, but what it really is it's a multi-purpose technology, and everything within it is a technology that is birthed from that technology, and it's all has a purpose. And everything within it, every movement within the cosmos, everything that, including what we think, our thoughts, what we do, everything has a reason to it that follows back to pre-event horizon, one fundamental reason that set it all in motion in the first place. If you look at life, life has a theme to it. Remember, there's challenges. There's the fact that somehow, even throughout all of this hostility, Earth being mostly salt water, and all these vicious animals that we are among, and space being so hostile to us, and us not having wings or shells or claws to defend ourselves, it's telling that we've been able to not only survive but thrive the way that humanity has, despite all those challenges, and those are just a few that I've mentioned. It's telling. And what that tells me is that human beings are purposed for something. But let's go back to the universe not having the universe is purposed for life. The fact that there's light. If something, clearly light is meant to be felt, and clearly light is meant to be seen by something, or it would have no significance. Do you see what I'm saying? Why everything has a significance? Now, another thing is, you also have to keep in mind that if you take away our voice, go mute, everything is a sign. Everything's an emblem. That's why life is emblematic. Everything has significance. That's how you know life has significance, because everything is not only merely affecting each other, but everything is communicating with each other at all times. Also akin to a game, to components in a game, or a math equation, or a sequence, an algorithm. Remember, there are no coincidences, because even coincidences are a result of rational processes. My gosh, no college, just a mind and boredom, an open mind, boredom, and a mind that allows questions to come into fruition, and follows them all the way, irregardless of my biases, willing to forgo my biases and say, let's see what this really says. 2 + 2 = 4. If you're courageous enough, you will see what life is. And I'll tell you right now, ignoring it is not going to be to your benefit. Just like ignoring anything else in life, there's a consequence to that. There's a much bigger consequence to the fact of why life is set up in the first place. It behooves us to learn the lessons, to take note of the lessons that we learn each day. In fact, I insist and recommend that you write them down, because they are a communication to you from nature. Nature's constantly talking to us. That's the reason why I told you that life is self-explanatory. Everything you see is a sign. It's all about a matter of your mind, allowing your mind curiosity your boredom, which drives you. Remember, boredom is an indication to you that you need to be doing something. Being that we're a thinking creature, obviously that thing that you're to be doing is to be thinking. That thing that you're to be doing is to, as a individual member of a social species, is to be helping. You're being scored. You're on a scoring system based on morals, based on your intellect. You haven't been given a mind to waste. You haven't been given the ability of action to waste and squander. So you're helping. You are to be thinking. You are to be learning. That's why lessons are all through life. In each moment, there's a lesson. In each moment, there's irony. In each moment, there's possibility, outcome, probability. Man, I'm telling you, it's euphoria. Ignorance can't be bliss. Because to think at an intrinsic level, which is clearly this objective level, the intrinsic objective level, I'll tell you right now, which I call axial thought, it's euphoria. Do the math. It is meant for you to find for yourself. Don't even take my word for it. Follow the natural questions that come in your mind. Why is there life? Why does everything occur? Why does everything happen? What makes sense in all of this life when you take everything into account, put them all together, reduce them down to fundamental levels? What actually makes sense? That we're born to work, pay bills, have babies, die, and then the same thing happens again to the next generation. That's what, you know what I mean? Like, that's not made sense to you. That's never made sense to you. The intrinsic truth is there for you. Remember, I say that I profess that life is self-explanatory. So I am daring you, anyone who is in denial of what I'm saying, simply explore it for yourself. Don't take my word for it. I encourage you to explore it for yourself, because that is why you have curiosity in the first place. What I'm telling you is that is why you have a mind in the first place. My job was only to read this stuff and decipher it. It's your job to prove me wrong. Oh yeah, but life is good. Let me go back to what I was starting on too, before I exit off. The reason why we know that life is going to come to an end. First off, you have the fact that we're designed or developed, say developed for those people who are scared of the word design or who have trepidation to it. We are developed to not only be intelligent, to be capable of intelligence, but also developed to be equally as nonsensical. So when you have a combination of those things, which is why you have choice in the first place. Remember, that's what the scoring system, to the intrinsic scoring system of the universe, is basing things off of. Choice. The choices that we make. Not the decisions that are made second to second, but the actual choices of consequence, such as moral choices, intellectual choices, your activities. Are they of value? That type of deal. Not dollar. Dollars mean nothing. That's just something to keep our minds off of what life is really about. Remember, this is a game, and the game is not here to help you beat it. The game is your enemy. And our enemies in this game are ourselves first, other human beings second, other creatures third, and nature, which would be the environment. But those four things, yourself, others, other animals, and nature, are also tools, innate, intrinsic tools put here to help us. That's the reason why you have pets such as dogs. Dogs are of value as pets, as not to be ruled over, but to help us to further our survival. That's the reason. But when you have a mind set to be nonsensical as well as intelligent, it automatically not only helps you develop into going towards a goal in the future, but you're also at the same time simultaneously sabotaging yourself. So that puts us on a course of self-annihilation. That's the reason why you have us employing an economy, or imposing, and adopting an economy that is so wasteful, that is actually non-economical. It is actually backwards of what it is supposed to be. It is why we believe that mutual exploitation is actually favorable instead of mutual support. Mutual exploitation and pressure is actually a better way of living for a social creature than mutual support. If that's not nonsensical at its most basic, I don't know. But you have all these chemicals that we're putting in the water and into our diet. Remember, 1 in 2 men in the United States will get cancer. That's not supposed to be. 10% of that is from inherent reasons, from hereditary reasons. Other than that, it's simply from our diet, things in the air and the water. But you also have the threat of nuclear annihilation. And another one. You could go with the weapons and the fact that we're constantly encouraged to be living our emotions rather than intellect in our life experience in society. But we're basically either going to kill ourselves, and this is due to the game, due to being, what do I want to call that, a safeguard of the game, to make sure that we are compelled to play the game, and to make sure that the game is developing. Remember, the game is keep sticking to a narrative. It is sticking to a narrative that supports the fundamental reason of why there's a life experience in the first place. And it is set basically with a self-destruct sequence. It's either we're going to kill ourselves, and that's the self-annihilation aspect of it, or an asteroid, some cataclysm, some type of cataclysm, an enormous earthquake, solar flare, whatever the flavor is going to end up hitting us, and life will start over again. Just like how the cycle of water, that's how this whole thing is going. Everything is just segmented repetitions. And if you notice in games, particularly video games, those are all based on loops and arcs. And what loops and arcs are like swirls, our compulsory loops that we're all stuck in autonomously every day, and where we all function subconsciously, basically like automated robots. Don't even notice it. Just think we're conscious, but we're not conscious. You know what I mean? Just because you're making a choice of what to buy at a store does not mean that you're conscious. You know what I mean? And then you have our conscious awareness, alert ability to choose and decide things. That is when you're aware, when you're conscious, you are aware of what your mind is doing. Like right now, I'm aware that someone's looking at me. So I need to, or like right now, I'm aware that of what I'm thinking of. I'm aware that while I'm speaking, I need to keep my voice in a certain way. I'm aware of, say, if I'm getting nervous at this point where I'm trying to think of my next point while at the same time trying to hold on to the point that I was on. If you're constantly aware of yourself, when you're getting scared, when you're getting anxiety, ask yourself, why is that? Why would there be anxiety? Once you start looking at life like that as components within a purpose, Once you start realizing that everything has significance, that's when it's easy to explain how it is. That's when it's easy to realize what life is, because you yourself will rationalize it. If they show you life at the cellular level, you will see life as completely functioning differently than at the perceptive, the level that we perceive it at. Why would nature do that? Why would nature just allow us to see it at the level that we perceive it at? The mathematical logic of turbulence, which we call chaos, that we can perceive it at. Why would it instead show us this orderly sequence of 1, 2, 3, 4? No matter which way we're facing the future. Why would it allow birth and entropy and death? You're not in control of any of those things. Everything's involuntary, or so that's the word we like to use, involuntary. Instead of just saying automated, it is part deterministic, part existential. Life experience is part deterministic, and it is the other half of it is part existential, and you combine those two together and you get that life is probabilistic. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You can realize it for yourself. It's all within nature for you to find on your own. Talk to you later.